When it comes to icons in the copywriting world, there are certain names that those of us who are copywriters will recognize. Names like David Ogilvy, Leo Burnett, Gary Halbert, Eugene Schwartz, Robert Cialdini, and Joseph Sugarman are just a few of the names that we honor and celebrate as the legendary forefathers of copywriting. And I am not saying that their recognition isn't well deserved. These men are geniuses, and their contributions to the world of marketing and advertising have been profound. I myself have learned a ton from them. But what most people don't realize is that women have been absolutely crushing it in the world of marketing, advertising, and copywriting for just as long as men, if not longer. Gasp, I know! So in this video, we're gonna shed some much needed light on the iconic women who shaped copywriting history, while also majorly challenging sexist norms, a patriarchal society, and systemic oppression. Keep watching. Hey Posse, what's up? It's Alex, and I am so freaking stoked about this video because it is high time that the world pays tribute to these absolutely iconic and legendary women who literally shaped copywriting and marketing history and created some of the most recognizable ads, slogans, and campaigns of all time. Trust me, you have heard them. Now, there were so many iconic women that I wanted to feature in this video, but that would have made this video really, really long. So I decided to break it up into a two-parter. Right now, you are watching part 1, and make sure you check out part 2 because I saved some of my absolute favorite women for the sequel. Now, if you're new to the crew, welcome. My channel is here to help you understand the world of marketing, copywriting, and freelancing so you can create a business you love, find the freedom you deserve, and live life on your terms. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe below and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when my next video goes live. Now, it is really, really easy to look back at the advertising industry and think that it's been run by a bunch of anti-feminist white dudes that sling money, sex, and alcohol, and you would be right. For the past several decades, the industry has, in large part, really taken pride in that representation, presenting its women as nothing more than secretaries to go fetch coffee, or a pretty face that would love nothing more than to clean your house with the latest cleaning products, or a sex symbol to sell you cigars, cars, and beer. I mean, I am sure we have all seen or at least heard of the TV show Mad Men, which really just offers a little teeny glimpse into the way women have been dismissed, demeaned, and really not taken seriously in the old boys club of the advertising industry. From the womanizer Don Draper to Peggy Olson's fight for copy chief. But what you probably don't know is that well over 100 years ago, so like 50 years before the Mad Men era, the foundation of advertising was actually laid by a group of badass pioneering women. And it all started back in 1910 in the women's editorial department at J. Walter Thompson's agency, and one woman in particular, Helen Lansdowne Resor. Leading the women's editorial department was Helen Lansdowne Resor, and together this group of copywriting feminists completely changed the world of advertising. Up until this point, advertisements were typically just simple text with a picture that straight up described what a product did, nothing more, nothing less. But Helen's team didn't really like that approach. They decided to take a more psychological approach to appeal to their customers. They introduced the concepts of testimonials, speaking to a consumer's deepest desires, and painting a picture of what life could look like once you use the product, which, if you haven't noticed, are all very powerful methods of marketing that are still used today. Helen is even thought to be the very first person to introduce the concept of sex appeal and sexual desire into advertising with her A Skin You Love to Touch ad campaign for Woodbury's soap. By 1918, the revenue generated by the women's editorial department totaled more than $2.2 million out of the total of $3.9 million the agency brought in, which was over half of their overall earnings. And by 1925, the company had 22 women working on 65 accounts compared to the 19 male copywriters that handle just 18 accounts. Now, we've got a lot more iconic women to get through, so let's meet number 2, Caroline R. Jones. Secretary turned copywriter trainee turned advertising executive, Caroline Jones was the first Black woman to be hired as a copywriter at J. Walter Thompson Agency in the early 1960s. During her career, she broke many race and sex barriers of the advertising world and eventually became one of the most prominent Black women among agency executives. Most of her clients came to her specifically when they wanted to market to Black consumers, including massive brands like American Express, Anheuser-Busch, McDonald's, Prudential, Toys R Us, Bus, and the Postal Service. Many of the campaigns she worked on are globally recognized and still used today. Like Kentucky Fried Chicken's "We Do Chicken Right," which again was originally aimed solely at the Black consumer, but the slogan performed so well that by the 1980s, the fast food chain was using it in all of its national ad campaigns. Later in her career, she founded Caroline Jones Advertising, where she created the "Because You're Worth It" campaign for L'Oreal. Now, full disclosure, this fact is now disputed by L'Oreal, who claims that the company's famous slogan was actually coined by Elon Specht, a white female copywriter in 1971. But what's the ad world without a little bit of controversy anyway? No matter what, there is no doubt that this woman was a badass pioneer in the marketing world. All right, number 3 on my list is Margaret Fishback. Margaret Fishback was a poet, a prose author, and one of the highest paid copywriters in the 1930s. The majority of her advertising work was done for Macy's, but she also did extensive freelance work. Hey, making freelance cool, 1930. In 1935, the New York Daily Mirror said, "She writes real poetry and it sells for real money. Not every poet can do that." Girl is genius, the Los Angeles Examiner exclaimed that very same year. During this time, Fishback was highly admired and praised for her writing skills and expertise. So the fact that she's so little talked about today is a serious tragedy. She was probably most well known for her skill at combining verse with copy to create ads that were both catchy and highly effective. Fishback was a fiercely independent feminist during a time in history when women were traditionally reliant on men. She had absolutely no problem declaring publicly that she did not need a husband and earned more than enough money to pay her own way. Hell yeah. Some of her biggest advertising contributions included Aero Shirts, Borden's, Chef Boyardee, Clairol, DuPont, Hanes Hosiery, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Seagram's, Simmons Beauty Rest, Wrigley, and several others. All right, moving on to the next badass on our list. It is Lillian Eichler. So stop for a minute and think of how many 18-year-old copywriters you know of today who can say that they have written $1 million offer. Yeah, you probably can't think of very many, if any at all. So let me take you back to the year 1919 and introduce you to an 18-year-old copywriter, Lillian Eichler. She worked for an advertising agency in New York and was given the seemingly impossible task of selling 1,000 copies of the pre-1900 Encyclopedia of Etiquette, which had been collecting dust on the shelves because no one was buying it. Within just a few days of Lillian's copy hitting the papers, every single copy was sold. And I love this copy so much because she really does a killer job of pinpointing specific challenges their audience might be experiencing. From the beginning of the letter, where she tells a story of a woman who keeps ordering the exact same meal while on a date with a man because she didn't know how to pronounce the French items on the menu. Thank God I can say French fries. She says, to be conscious of your crudité. Yes, I had to Google how to say that. That rob women of their poise, ease, confidence, and self-possession. That's so 1919. To mastering the art of being popular and making friends easily, Lillian asks the reader, let's pretend you have received an invitation. Would you know exactly how to acknowledge it? Would you know what sort of gift to send and what to write on the card that accompanies it? Perhaps it's an invitation to a formal wedding. Would you know what to wear? Would you know what to say to the hostess upon arrival? It is absolutely brilliant because she's identifying pain points that almost every woman living in the 1920s was really concerned about. And let's be honest, I still don't really know the answers to most of those questions. But there was another problem. So sure, Lillian's copy sold every single book on that dusty shelf, but within a few days of being sold, they were actually being returned because it turns out the consumers that were drawn to Lillian's amazing writing weren't really amused with the ludicrously archaic text and pictures inside those pre-1900 encyclopedias. So the publishing company had another brilliant idea. Why not just have Lillian rewrite the entire encyclopedia herself, using the same tone of voice and addressing the same pain points that she used so effectively in her ad copy? And so that's exactly what she did. Lillian's new and improved version of the encyclopedia sold 2 million copies at $2 each, resulting in $2.5 million in profits. And remember, this was 1919, so that would have been $42 million in today's money. So badass. All right, moving on to number 5 on the list is Barbara Collyer. She created what's thought by some to be the most iconic Christmas ad of all time. And this ad is actually featured in the book, The 100 Greatest Advertisements, Who Wrote Them and What Did They Say? And I'll link to that in the description below. So what is the ad, you're wondering? It is Macy's 1948 Christmas ad with the headline, "Oh darling, you shouldn't have." So apparently people wrote, called, and personally stopped by the store to inquire about this ad. It got more attention than any other ad in Macy's history. So it reads, Oh darling, you shouldn't have. Sometime last night, Macy's gave the last bow on the last package a loving pat, entrusted it into a tired delivery man, and locked up the store for the weekend. New York looked very much like a small town at that hour. The business district was dark and quiet and deserted. The streets were almost empty, but everywhere where people lived and had their homes, there were lights. Candle lights, Christmas lights, small, soft lights to help good children catch a glimpse of Santa Claus. Big, blazing lights that spelled music and laughter and good cheer. It's so good, right? So you can read that full ad and also get all of the links to the full articles and references for this video by linking to my blog in the description below. All right, and number 6 on this part 1 list is Phyllis Robinson. Phyllis Robinson, aka the First Lady of Madison Avenue's creative revolution, got her start in the industry during a time when agencies were crowded with that traditional Mad Men era atmosphere. Nicotine, booze, and lots of, well, men. Robinson was one of the first women brave enough to brush aside the strong sexist views of this era and clear a path for herself straight to the top. She became the first chief copywriter at Doyle Dane Bernbach Advertising Agency, where she supervised a team that would later produce a number of notable people in the advertising world, including Mary Wells Lawrence and Paula Green. She was best known for her conversational writing, which was practically unheard of during this time in advertising, and helped set the standard of pairing art directors with copywriters to actually work together as a team. And today, of course, we all know that great copy plus great design is the secret sauce to selling products at record rates. So some of her most notable campaigns included ads for Levi's Real Jewish Rye, El Al Airlines, and long-running Polaroid campaigns. Okay, Posse, that is part 1 of iconic women who shaped copywriting. I hope you enjoyed this flashback through history and love learning more about these absolutely powerhouse women. I know I enjoyed researching them. And make sure you check back for part 2 being released next week, because we'll be talking all about a fearless woman that was fired for standing up for her beliefs, and another woman that penned one of the most recognizable beer advertisements of all time, an edgy woman that pioneered sexual liberation for women everywhere, plus even more incredible iconic women that you need to know about. So I will see you next week, and until next time, I'm Alex. Ciao for now. All right, guys, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to check out the next one from me right here, and you can click right here to get a free gift. Yes, when it comes to icons in the copywriting world, there are certain names that we all recognize. David Ogilvy, Leo Burnett, Gary Halbert, and Eugene Schwartz, just to name a few. And while their contributions to the world of marketing, advertising, and copywriting cannot be denied, I think it's high time we shed some light on the iconic women who helped redefine and shape the entire industry with some of the most recognizable ads, slogans, and campaigns of all time. Welcome to part 2 of iconic women that shaped copywriting history.